Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome into Morning in the Valley. I am Jeff Bidwell. I am sad. Sports stink sometimes. Sports stink sometimes. And as a diehard Philadelphia Eagle, Philadelphia Phillies fan, we are in mourning this morning here on Morning in the Valley. Rough day, rough night. Thank God the Eagles won the Super Bowl in February, or I may just have quit the sports thing and just gone into, I don't know. I'd become one of those guys, Mr. Miyagi, with his little bonsai tree, and that's all I did because I can't take the pain and the agony. I need basketball season to get here yesterday, and it will be here in 24 days. Mercifully, we will get the first regular season games, maybe doubly mercifully. We have college basketball tomorrow. We'll get into that coming up in just a bit. Coming up today, we will continue our previews of the Missouri Valley Conference. On the women's side, we will check out the Bradley Braves, year 4 of the Kate Popovic-Goss era. And that is a program that is most certainly trending in the right direction over the last 3 years. And then coming up at 9:30 today, we will talk with the voice of the UIC Flames, the men's program, Jonathan Hood, and talking about a program pointed in the right direction. Most certainly after last year, UIC really outperforming preseason expectations and in a lot of ways, really the darling of the league for much of it before just a late scuffle down the stretch. But we'll get into all of that as they look forward to year 2 of the Rob Eson era in Chicago. We'll talk with Jay Hood coming up at 9:30. If you haven't done so already, please help us out and head over to YouTube and subscribe for free to Morning in the Valley. We've got all our past shows, interview clips, these preseason previews, all of it there for you, all free of charge at YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, share. We appreciate your continued support. We do have basketball tomorrow. Thank goodness. 2 exhibition games on the men's side. Bradley will be on the road. Brian Wardle going back to his former stomping ground of Green Bay, and they will play at 6 o'clock. Drake will go to Wichita State for their exhibition game. The part of the program that is of disappointment, I guess, is that the Drake-Wichita exhibition game, there will be no visual proof that it happened. There is no streaming. There is no television product tomorrow. Thankfully, Bradley at Green Bay will be available on ESPN Plus starting at 6 o'clock. I know I haven't gone through and audited everyone's exhibition games and where they're going and what's streaming and live. I just do know that Murray State next weekend, they will be at Xavier. When I reached out to Xavier this week, they said at this moment there is no streaming television coverage of that game either. And it's disappointing. I find it to be disappointing. That's probably the best way to put it. It's just, I mean, this is a drum that old John Rothstein has banged on for weeks and weeks and weeks, that it's like, look, you've got an opportunity to promote your program. You've got an opportunity to, put out products and get your folks excited and let people see what's going on. And I understand that it is an exhibition game. And I understand that it is, there are things that, wins and losses matter not, but fan bases don't always see it that way. But if the exhibition game's happening, it's not like a secret scrimmage where maybe somebody leaks a box score to somebody and you see the box score posted and then you can make your judgments. It's like the score will be posted. There will be however many thousand people in the arena. It's happening. So the judgment's going to happen no matter what, to at least have it out there and let people get excited about your team, especially in the era of everybody's new seemingly all the time. And you want to be able to get excited and build some anticipation for your games. I also know, to be fair to these schools, at least the football playing schools, is that sometimes these exhibition games are all happening on the weekend. They're happening on Saturdays or Sundays here through October before we get into the season opening week there on November 3rd. And look, there are some of these schools where it's like they have already their ESPN Plus staffing is limited. And, for instance, I know Murray State this weekend, it is fall break there. So I, they have a football game that they need to stream. I don't know how they're going to get that done, because there's usually student help. They will find a way. But it's like suddenly if you're like, hey, we've got a football game here and we got a basketball exhibition here, sometimes there are priorities. Xavier doesn't have football. I will say that. Wichita State does not have football either. So outside of Ted Lasso. So it's just disappointing. We all just want to see it. We want to get excited. And the fact that they don't have it is I will go so far as to call it a shame, but it's disappointing nonetheless. But we've got basketball to watch tomorrow, one game, so we don't have to split our focus. Bradley and Green Bay will get a chance to take a peek at the Braves at 6 o'clock tomorrow night against Green Bay, year 2 of Doug Gottlieb's tenure up there in Green Bay. And Brian Wardle, of course, his team, a lot of turnover at the top with guys. The Duke Deans and the Darius Hannahs and the Zeke Montgomerys of the world, but plenty coming back. And they are sort of an intriguing, maybe, I don't even want to say buy low, but buy low-ish, that this could be a team that makes a run before it's all said and done. So we will have plenty on that coming up on Monday. But come on, Wichita. Come on, Xavier. Come on, everybody that doesn't want to stream your games. Stream your games. We just want to watch basketball. Help us out, especially in the aftermath of baseball season coming to a close. Okay, some other headlines of the morning today, and this one, look, just cutting right to the chase. Sister Jean, our old friend alert from Loyola Chicago, the longtime team chaplain at Loyola Chicago, passed away yesterday at the age of 106. To say it was a full life, to say it was a life well lived is sort of the understatement of the year in the end. This probably should not come. Look, it shouldn't come as a surprise. She was 106 years old, and bless her for that. But it sort of the flag went up a couple weeks ago when Loyola made the announcement that she was stepping down from her chaplain duties because she was not able. She was no longer able to basically travel, be around the team. And I was just like, it feels like there's a flag that she may not be doing well. And ultimately, apparently not, that her health failed and ultimately passed away yesterday at 106. She is, it hit me hard. And I think that, look, I think like literally all of us, you had to be pretty into the weeds on Loyola Chicago basketball, in which some of you may have been, a decade or so ago prior to that 2018 Final Four run. But for the rest of us, we'd never heard of Sister Jean. We Sister Jean Dolores Schmidt. None of us had heard of her. But when she first it was Loyola and that immaculate run to the Final Four. And certainly those first 2 games when you have, you have the buzzer beater, you beat Miami of Florida, you beat Tennessee, you beat Nevada, you beat Kansas State, but those buzzer beaters in the first 2 rounds. And then it's like, and then you have this divine presence over on the side. And it was like, of course she was going to become the national celebrity that she became, because why wouldn't she? It was perfect in that way of these miraculous endings for this underdog team, very good team, but an underdog team by seed, if nothing else. And then you see this 98-year-old woman in a wheelchair and just with a smile that went on for miles. And then you get more of the backstory and more of it. And you're just like, this is just awesome. And it's amazing that, for a sport, and really all of sports, look, there are shooting stars in sports, and, the one hit wonders of the world that get their 15 minutes. Loyola's Final Four run was 7.5 years ago. And there's really no one that pays even a tenth of a percent of their attention to college basketball that you don't mention Sister Jean. And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember Sister Jean. She was a She was a high school basketball coach. She coached girls basketball at the Catholic schools. This wasn't hey, she just kind of, she loved basketball her whole life. And then in 1994, she became the team chaplain there at Loyola Chicago. And, was just part of the program, help with the academics, making sure everybody was working to stay eligible and certainly pregame, postgame prayers, all that. And the part that, um, Porter Moser, obviously leading the Ramblers to the Final Four, moved on to Oklahoma. And he was quoted just saying that even at Oklahoma, after every single game, Sister Jean would email him. And his quote was, "There is no human like her." And that's all, I think that's all you can ask about walking this earth, is that you hope that you have an impact on others. And it's the old adage of, people don't remember what you said, what you gave them, any of that. It's how'd you make them feel. And certainly Sister Jean had that impact on so many people. And for whatever reason, um, never met her, never in I'm sure I was in the same state as her. That's about as close. Never in the same city. I was kind of disappointed last year. Um, Disappointed in the slimmest sense of last year when Murray State was playing in the Diamond Head Classic at Christmas. Loyola was there. They played in the last game on Christmas Day, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder if Sister Jean's here." And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna." Like the thought hadn't even left my head, and I was like, probably a pretty fair chance that the 105-year-old did not make the 10-hour flight from Chicago down to Honolulu for a week in Hawaii. But she made a huge impact, and I don't know, lost my final grandparent a couple years ago, and just seeing this news late last night, it just kind of hit me maybe a little harder than I thought it was going to. Just knowing that just such an institution there in Chicago, but for people that never met her, never saw her anything other than this. I hate to use mascot because it's not the right word, but just this fixture at the end of the bench and at these Loyola games, and you just felt good seeing her and watching her smile and her interact with these kids. It was a life well lived. And so Godspeed to Sister Jean Schmidt, who has passed away at the age of 106. All right. Other news of today. As yesterday, the guys at the Field of 68, Rob Doster, Jeff Goodman, and the gang, they have got a mid-major show that they put on. It seems like about every week they're going to put that on. Our friend Rocco Miller, Vince Wolfram, Sean Paul, all hosting that. Yesterday, they put out their preseason mid-major All-American teams. And maybe to no real surprise, Chase Walker, Illinois State. Chase Walker, a first-team preseason mid-major All-American, according to the Field of 68. That's a lot to fit on a T-shirt. But they also named him the preseason mid-major Player of the Year across the whole country. And I thought that was pretty significant praise for one Chase Walker, for a guy that averaged 15 points and 6 rebounds a game last year, shot 58% from the field, shot 36 from three, and a first-team All-Valley player a year ago, most improved player in the Valley a season ago. He is the key centerpiece for the expectations and why they are as high as they are. It's a guards game, but my goodness, if you've got a dude in the middle, much like Illinois State does in Chase Walker, it elevates you. And that is why, and that is taking nothing away from, the Chase Walkers and the Ty Pences and the Jack Dohertys, and we can go on and on and on and on. It's Chase Walker in the middle that is the one that has elevated Illinois State to this preseason pedestal that they're on. And now in 24 days, we'll find out, do they deserve that pedestal? Have they earned that spot on the pedestal, and will they be able to hold everybody else off and try to win a Missouri Valley Conference championship? Yesterday on the program, Rocco, Vince Wolfram, Sean Paul, specifically Wolfram and Paul, talked about Chase Walker and why they chose him ultimately to be the preseason mid-major player of the year. Here's those guys talking about Chase.
Our preseason player of the year, there's obviously a lot of hype built around somebody with that title. What do you think, Sean, would make a fantastic year for Chase Walker? We've seen the growth. What would make it a great year for this guy?
I mean, I just think, kind of like I talked about earlier, just staying on the floor a little bit more. And I think some of that Rocco talked about just how much better shape he's gotten into throughout his career from high school to now. 24 minutes per game, and everything he did in those 24 minutes contributed strictly to winning. If he can give you 28 to 30 minutes per game, we're looking at a guy that could average 18 points per game. And he's a bigger body guy, but he's so skilled with what he does, kind of like a DJ Burns type. He has such good touch, he can pass the ball a little bit. He's really the mid-major DJ Burns, even though DJ Burns was the original mid-major DJ Burns. And even if he could step out and start shooting it a little bit more from three, that would be a nice jump. He's just a really well-rounded player, and the fact that he came back for another season at Illinois State, he knew what his role would be. I think he's going to have a really good season and really make this award in his name worth it.
Yeah, the reason he came back is because they're going to be good, and he is good. And it's just how much more of a gap, from a freshman to a sophomore, how much more real estate is there going north for him to improve and be a guy that, look, as he said, last year only playing 24 some odd minutes a game and averaged more than 15 and 6 a night. Can he get to be a 20 and 10 guy in that realm? That's going to be a fascinating piece to watch. So that is Chase Walker, a first-team All-Missouri or All-American on the mid-major side, thanks to the field of 68 guys. Another player in the Valley that got some preseason recognition, and that's Tyler Lundblade from Belmont. And we talked with him earlier, just the great story of just walking on at school after school after school and earning scholarships at school after school after school. And now Belmont, as a walk-on last year, leading the country in three-point percentage. He was an absolute shooting machine for them a season ago. And that will be, I'm just fascinated to watch him this year. And as we've talked about, he will sneak up on nobody this year and sort of be in at the tip of the spear for the offense for that Belmont squad. But, at 6'5", and he is legit got that size to be able to shoot over guys. And as we talked with him a couple of months ago, the part about him that is so, I find just fascinating to watch and what he has done that makes him such a lethal shooter is his ability to catch the ball and start to elevate to shoot when he is not squared to the basket. And he gets in the air and then squares himself to the basket and is then, it's a coin flip whether it goes in, which is just ridiculous. Most guys you want, square to the basket, then shoot. He starts to shoot, then squares. It's a remarkable skill set that he has, and he was fantastic last year, and really, really interested to see how he's able to go this year. Look, he can drop off from last year. I mean, what is it, 48%, something like that? I mean, he can have a less than season last year and still be one of the best shooters in the country. That is how much of a cushion he gave himself last season, but there is an expectation of growth for Tyler, and looking forward to seeing him do that this season down in Nashville. All right, our man is here. Now, this is a guy, Jonathan Hood. He is, I can always tell a guy when I say, hey, I need you here at this time. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to roll in 10 minutes early. And that is something that my high school coach somewhere is happy this morning, that if you're not 10 minutes early, you are late. He is Jonathan Hood. He is the voice of the UIC Flames. He hosts wrestling shows on Sirius XM. He's got more jobs than me. He's got sports talk in Chicago. I thank you, sir, for carving out a few minutes this morning and joining us today.
Jeff, always a pleasure, my man. Basketball season is right around the corner as the leaves fall from the trees. Basketballs are are you can hear them just pounding in practice. You can hear coaches yelling in the in the atmosphere. So that means college basketball is right around the corner.
Thought you're going with a little poetry there for me for a second. I mean, leaves falling from the trees. I was like, this is a new addition here to the show that we're not normally used to. All right, let's talk about Rob Eson. Getting ready for year number 2. Last season, the Flames finished 17-14 overall, 10-10 in the Valley, 5th place. They were the darlings early in the season. You beat a really good Yale team in your building. You hand Drake their first loss of the year. You go to Bradley and just hammer the Braves, and you're like, hello, UIC. And then the last 3 weeks of the year, things kind of fell apart. Does the end of the year, by all metrics, this was the best season, or certainly since COVID, and one of the best seasons of the last decade plus at UIC. Does the end of the year tarnish the overall product in your mind from last season?
Yeah. So last year, you're sitting and you're doing play-by-play, and you're seeing things that you're not used to seeing, like winning at Bradley.
Right.
Jeff, that doesn't happen. Like just actually winning, going to Peoria and winning at Bradley, which was amazing. And then to be able to have what you mentioned, just a win against a tournament team like Yale, to be able to give Drake their first loss of the season at home. And you're saying, who are these Flames? And I think that what stood out to me is, number one, the shooting profile, because we were shooting it a ton, especially from 3. So we had a prolific shooting profile there. And then from there, just, as good as the season was early, I think we ran out of gas.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I packed 4 outfits for St. Louis for a reason, because I expect to be there for 4 dates. And once again, we go home early. So the expectation is that I'll be able to at least wear more than one outfit coming up for Arch Madness.
When you look at departures, and it was a bunch, and at the top, it's kind of surprising almost for, hey, we had such a great year to have so many guys leave the program. Leading scorer Javon Jackson stays in conference, goes down the road to Murray State, but you lose some guys to some big places. Jordan Mason going to Temple, Sasa Shiani going to Penn State, graduate 6 guys. I mean, it was a lot leaving, but in terms of the top guy, I guess, Javon Jackson staying in conference, how much of an impact is his departure going to have on the Flames this season, you believe?
I think that the whole dynamic changes, JB. So here's what my expectations. My expectations for this season is, I'm not sure if the Flames will be able to shoot it the way that they did last year, because it's a whole different team. I think that what they want to do is recruit for size.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since that we came to the Valley, I just knew that it was going to be a rock fight, as you well know, in this conference. It is very difficult, especially late in the season into Arch Madness, to be able to find a way to get baskets. And so I thought that the Flames did a good job of being able to recruit for size, because you know how this conference works. You get pushed out of the lane easily. It's more physical. And I just think that the Flames last year had a hard time dealing with the physicality, especially our guards. So this is why they got Makai Lowry, who's 6'7". They've got Beljean, who's 6'10". They've got Silverstein, that's 6'7". Momo, that's 6'8". Walker, 6'6". Johnson, 6'6". It was important for the Flames to be able to recruit for some size. It's one thing to be able to have a great opportunity to shoot the ball at a high clip, but you know how this league gets if you are not physical, if you're not being able to get to your spot in the painted area and you get pushed out of there. It's going to be difficult for you to be able to score and for you to be able to concentrate. So I think that the dynamic is different. Last year, a lot of guards that could shoot the ball, a lot of bigs that could shoot the ball from the outside. I think more now, I think they're looking to attack the rim more, move the ball side to side, be able to get a good shot if they can. But it's the second chance opportunities I think we missed a lot last year. I think that they recruited toward that and more for this season.
Before we kind of get into the guys who have arrived individually, I was struck by the amount of Chicago dudes that Rob Eson was able to go get. When you see a Josiah Hammonds and a Sam Silverstein and a Ty Walters Whitaker and a Makai Lowry, guys from Chicago, Ahmad Henderson already there, a Chicago kid. What is it about that place? And man, what just the Chicago dynamic that you can probably explain to us that aren't from there, that it's just like, man, maybe I went out and tried something other places, but if I got a chance to come home, I'm going to come home. And what a recruiting chip that Rob Eson's able to just throw down on the table to these guys.
We're incredibly provincial here.
Yeah.
because because you could find someone that's our age and older that could be able to tell stories of the battles of the public league in Chicago and the rock fights that would happen there in the 80s and the 90s, and just how you'd go to a gym and the walls would sweat because there's so many people there, where the fire department says, oh, there's not too many people here, I'm enjoying the game too. They would just turn their heads like, no, more people could come in, sure, because you knew you had an attraction, right?
Yep.
And so it was that way in the past. It's that way at times here in Chicago now, but it's nothing like playing in front of your own family and friends. I think that you can understand you're 17, 18, 19, you want to get away from home, you want to get away from mom and dad because you want to explore, but there's nothing like coming home. And JB, I think that from Eson's standpoint, bringing Chicago guys in, I think mattered to him. It gives him a kind of a leg up. I know it's a different dynamic now because you're not recruiting as a freshman. You're hoping they'd come to your program, but because it's the Wild West, if you can bring your guys home back to Chicago, you will. And I think that Eson did a great job of that, understanding the importance of recruiting Chicago kids.
A couple non-Chicago kids, but guys that very much intrigue me coming in this season. One of them is a young man that, statistically didn't do much last year, but Elijah Crawford averaged a point a game at BYU at a Sweet 16 team and a really good program. But look, this is a kid that was a top 100 kid coming out of high school. What is the vibe right now around Elijah Crawford, and maybe what kind of immediate impact he might be able to have this season?
Saw him practice several times. I'm going to practice, not practicing now. They're practicing on Monday, so I'll be able to watch more of him. I just think that athleticism comes to play, an opportunity to play for this UIC team, and with Rob Eson, like he loves his offense, but you got to be able to guard too. You've got to be able to guard to be have minutes on his team. I saw that firsthand last year. And so I think that he could be definitely in the mix as someone that could be a catalyst for this team.
The other young man is, and I hope I get his name right, Abdul Mamo from Central Connecticut State, who was averaged about 9 points a game. But you talk about defense, he was the Northeast Conference Defensive Player of the Year. This one has to just make Coach Eson's heart sing a little bit.
Well, yeah, because again, we're talking about size. Look,
Yeah.
you love a versatile big, someone that could be able to put the ball on the floor, go to the basket, can shoot a little bit from the outside. But also, I think it's so important for the rebounding aspect, because I don't think the Flames had enough of that last year.
Yeah.
You had the skill, but you didn't have the strength and the enough, I think, last year. And so I think that he definitely, Abdul, brings something to the table here with, yes, he could do a lot of different things offensively, but it's important to be able to get that second chance and that rebounding aspect. Toughness is so important. I can't emphasize, you know this, JB, sitting at courtside. And in our league, that one rebound, that key rebound could be the difference in a win or a loss.
For sure.
It is that important, the little things in our league. Other leagues can get away with missing a rebound, missing a free throw there. But again, it's so tight. So I think that Abdul can bring that to the table. I'm looking forward to calling his game.
The part about the portal, and every situation is different, and I can speak from Murray State's perspective. Got 15 new guys, but you look at what did they do last year, and it's like, well, scored 2 points here, scored 3 points there, scored 1 point there, and it's sort of untapped potential. You're hoping that you're going to bet on the pedigree and the ceiling. You look at what Rob Eson has brought in, and you see Amamo, who scored 9 points a game at Central Connecticut, and Josiah Hammond scored 7 at Sam Houston, and Chris Walker scored 11.5 at Binghamton, Ante Bellion 10 at Little Rock. These dudes have done it at the Division I level, maybe a half a level below the Missouri Valley, but there's some dudes that know what they're doing coming in. And it feels like when I look at the preseason polls, I think Blue Ribbon had UIC at 9. I'm like, man, I feel like we are second year in a row really underselling this Flames program.
But, it's like anything else. So the people that make the poll and also the players don't know what they don't know.
Right.
See, so even last year, right, you could go to a Flames player and say, we haven't done that before. We never scored 100 points before in a game or somewhere in the 90 to 100 point clip. They don't know that. They just know they just know basketball. You
Yeah.
know that you broke this record, record, this record. You know you have a scurrying through the play, the record books of all the things that you've done. They don't know that. And so the same thing with everyone that has to be able to make a poll, which it's nonsense, right?
Correct.
We don't know because everyone's new, JB. We could have an educated guess, but
Right.
we don't know what's going to happen. I just think it's funny that you're on the same social media that I am, and people already have it figured out who's going to win the Valley. You sure? You sure Illinois State is that much better than everybody else head and shoulders above the rest? You sure Bradley is better than everybody? You sure that Javon Jackson can't increase the shooting profile for Murray? You sure about that? So that's why it's too bad that we're so much in the dark. But here we are when it
Right.
comes to college basketball. There was a time where you and I could sit down and have a few daddy sodas and be able to just
Ugh.
mark it down because we knew the rosters.
Yeah.
We knew exactly. All right, well, this guy's coming back, this guy's coming back, and we got one transfer, but it's so different now. So no one knows anything. Even me, I don't know anything.
Well, there's nothing better than yelling about preseason polls than being uneducated and yelling about preseason polls, and loud idiots are the best idiots. So, the addition, the returners, not many, obviously, but I think it begins obviously and ends with a young man by the name of Ahmad Henderson, a guy that, put him on the free throw line, certainly automatic, but he had 21 games last year in double figures, started 16. He's going to be sort of the straw that stirs the drink, I guess, for this offense this year. What are you expecting? What can we expect from a getting better and sort of getting closer to his full potential that maybe we saw a year ago from Ahmad?
So he can't do anything about his size because his size is his size. He's a dynamic, small lead guard. So what we saw him do, JB, is go from the foul line down and go to the basket. And I love that, his willingness as a smaller guard to be able to go to the basket. But then the way he was able to shoot the basketball was incredible as well. Like the matchup that I loved watching was Ahmad Henderson against Duke Dean because
Yeah.
now it's a carnival act, right? Now you have the
Sure.
shortest guys on the floor, and now how do they get past one another, right? Because they're battling, going back and forth, and the shortest guys on the floor. Ahmad, he's got to be better defensively, but again, he can't do anything about his size, and he knows that. But I love what the young man does with his heart and his moxie. Those are sports terms that we use all the time to describe a person that is an underachiever that's turning into an overachiever. The way he shoots the basketball, and by the way, because he's a holdover from last year, it's his team now. I'm not sure if it was his team last year. He comes over, but now because he's in year 2 with this coaching staff and with Rob Eson, it's his team. So his leadership skills are going to even be paramount, I think, to this team with all his new teammates that he has now with the Flames.
The part that struck me early last year, I think this was really, it felt like sort of the offensive mission statement for this UIC team, but Ahmad was right in the middle of all of it. Was going to get the rebound, we're going to get it to our guard, and they're going to go 100 miles an hour down the floor. And if you aren't going to get in their way, it's a layup. And that was what it was almost like it caught people off guard that this little dude is going to try to get to the cup if he can. And he did and was able to finish. And he's just you can't teach speed. And he is as fast end to end as anybody I'll say in the country. And it's like, it is, what a weapon. What a weapon.
Yeah. Well, think about me at courtside. That was me calling the Howard Moore swing, the Wisconsin swing at UIC, and I'm just like draining the clock and not being able to get a shot. And then you reverse that, and now you're seeing a team that's scoring in 10 seconds or less. That is what the players love, to be able to score as fast as they can. That is part of Rob Eson's plan. This is what happens when you hang around college coaches and also NBA. I think he has a connection with the Sacramento Kings before he got the UIC job. And so I love when a coach can be able to learn. You just don't sit there and just say, well, I know what's best. He's learning all the time. He's very observant in the college game and the NBA game, and says, okay, if I've got dynamic guards, we're going to get up and down the floor here. We got to beat the defense. Give ourselves a chance. And so, as a play-by-play guy, it keeps you enthused, right? You're sitting up straight, a little straighter in your chair, like, all right, here we go. We're going to try to score in 10 or 11 seconds. Now, you make sure you got your notes ready, because they're going to fly right past you. hold on to them because your note's going to fly over the floor. That's how fast those guys was. So, and I think, as I mentioned to you, Jeff, I think that dynamic changes a little bit. The guards, I think, can still be fast, but I still think the size from the foul line down will matter because last year we had so many guards that could be able to do what you're talking about. But Ahmad's going to be able to still provide some of that speed, which I love.
Schedule wise, man, it's for a new team and for a team that certainly we have expectations of outperforming the early prognostications. It's a very manageable schedule that I think you can get in a conference above 500 and maybe by a lot. You got 4 home games. Looking at you're going to Daytona Beach for the boardwalk battle for your MTE, and then really from a metric standpoint, you're at Oregon State, you're at Yale. Those are the 2 toughest games. The Torvik, projections, it's all Q3, Q4 games. So those are, you're not lining up 6 money games that you got to go just survive as much as anything. What stands out about, I'm sure there's some disappointment about only 4 home games, but what stands out for the schedule for you?
What stands out to me is that in Daytona, the flies were a big problem. We were there last year. We're in that same tournament last year. The flies were a major problem. I'm looking down at my notes, and there's 2 flies circling the entire time, and I'm just like, please, in that arena, God Almighty, the same arena in which Hulk Hogan turned heel, by the way, in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Oh,
so I'm there, and so the flies were a problem in Daytona. That's one. But no, when you have the resume that the Flames had last year, especially at home,
sure.
take it on the non-conference,
Nobody wants to
pick
play
up the phone.
Yeah.
Hard to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
You see our schedule.
Yeah.
Hard for people to want to be able to match up with that because they said, well, we don't want that. We don't want that L. It's Rob Eson. It's a fast offense. It was difficult, I think, at times for Rob to be able to find the opponents that he wanted. But I think that there's some learning experience there. You had to finish up the one-on-one, as you mentioned, with Yale. Yale was surprised. Very well coached, by the way, Yale. But to be able to go there, be interesting. Going to Charlotte, I think it'll be interesting being on the road there. That's later on in the schedule. The Oregon State game, again, a learning experience, not a game that you will roll over for. I think that's a game that the Flames, if you shoot the ball well, you can be able to win. So I like those challenges, win or lose, because when you get in the conference play, there's no messing around because there's no one is just going to roll over for you in the conference. So you want to play as well as you can in non-conference. I think it's very interesting that we're able to cobble the schedule together. At least someone picked up the phone, Jeff, to be able to play the mighty Flame.
I say 4 home games. It's kind of 4.5. You go across town and go play Chicago State. So you get to at least sleep in your own bed that night. Yeah. I mean, there are, and I would think that, and I would hope certainly at this level in the Valley that there aren't really any teams that should be able to look at their schedule on October the 10th and go, that's a loss. I know you don't have any of those. I mean, you can make arguments that you can run the table. It's certainly going to be challenging. And there are some, High Point is a very good basketball program. They said Yale's very good. It's a long trip to Oregon State, but manageable. And so certainly hope you can get some confidence rolling into Christmas and into conference play. All right. Like I said, I guess in the official Missouri Valley poll, you're either tied for 6th or tied for last, however you want to look at it. Blue Ribbon had you in at 9th. A year ago, I believe 12 out of 12. And you certainly far exceeded that expectation. I feel like from the last 20 minutes of talk that you have a level of optimism that you guys can outperform the early returns.
Absolutely. And that was a rallying cry for the team last year because Coach Eson, the coaching staff, the players were not happy that they were picked last. And you always use that for bulletin board material. Or actually, Jeff, now it's dry erase board, isn't it? Do we use bulletin boards anymore?
I haven't seen a push pin in a decade. So, yeah, it's all sticky notes and dry erase. Yeah.
So I think that's dry erase board material now that they looked at. There were some T-shirts that were passed around saying that we're last and we're going to find a way to dig out of it. And the Flames did. And so for this year, I'm sure they'll find something else. But again, no one knows anything until we get basketballs in the air. Until we find out, no one knows that. All I know is that I really like the way this coaching staff has gone about their business because there's a mission statement. I've said this on talk shows, and I say this as a play-by-play guy. If you have a mission statement, if I know if you stand for something, then I know that at least you have a goal.
Right.
If you have no goal, then what's the point? You're just rolling the basketball out. But I think what they want to do offensively is getting up and down the floor. They want to be able to be a much better defensive team they were last year. But I feel like Eson and the coaching staff have a plan. And I just tell you, for my years of doing this, there's some coaches in games I called, there was no plan. So a lot of miles and a lot of teams. So a lot of coaches had no plan, but this coaching staff definitely a plan.
Jonathan Hood, he is the radio voice of the UIC Flames. We are going to take a 5-minute sidebar here for our college basketball loving fans because we had to talk professional wrestling very briefly. Jay Hood, has his own program there on Sirius XM, and I'm going to let you plug the heck out of that in a minute. But all right, for the longtime WWE fans here,
Yes.
Now in the new ownership group that is running things, squeezing every penny out of everything seems to be the absolute priority of everything. And taking WrestleMania to Saudi Arabia in 27, I guess it is. This bubble has to burst at some point, right? But right now, it just keeps taking on helium and getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Jeff, I guess the old house show in Murray, Kentucky, or Lexington, or Evansville. I guess that doesn't matter anymore, huh?
No.
They have what the WWE has done, as they have taken the model from UFC, and they're rolling with it. There's going to be a pay-per-view in Perth, Australia, at 7 a.m. And I guess the wrestling fans that get up at 7 a.m. to watch an event in Australia. When we turn the calendar to 2026, the first month of action will be in places like Germany and Poland. I believe maybe Saudi again, something like that, but it's an international flavor. So for those of us in the region, in the Valley region, from Chicago to Evansville to Murray and all the other places in between, we don't matter as much.
Yeah.
And it's too bad because even though those fans are thirsty for action, the international fans, they love it. They have the WWE has priced out the regular fan. We could talk about this with other sports too, but in WWE, they feel like going international is the way to go because there are places that are bidding, that are paying WWE to get there, including Salt Lake City, by the way, recently. Salt Lake City is paying for WWE to be there. So now it's become the Ice Capades. Now it's become the Harlem Globetrotters. We'll pay you to come to our city or to our country. And it's too bad because professional wrestling was built on America and North America and building through all the small towns and building up a fan base. And that's not the priority as much anymore.
Yeah, I am a lifelong fan. I got somebody on the inside that was able to slide me tickets, and I would go to pay-per-views, and now it's like TKO folks there's no comps for literally anybody anymore. I said, they had a pay-per-view in St. Louis earlier this summer. I was like, we'll go up and have some fun. And man, the upper deck tickets were like $300 in the upper deck. And I was just like, yeah, I'll be fine sitting at home watching that. I guess it's just, I think the part that's been hard, and you talk about pricing out in so many other sports, is that this just felt like it was overnight. And it went from, we got shows all over, and now it's, hey, those shows are gone. And then if you can get to a show, the price is so prohibitive outside of, the people that the money doesn't matter and they can go to it. But we've seen the cycle over the years. And I just remember from, the Attitude Era. And it was like, you were just dying for more content. And, they added a SmackDown and you're like, this is great and it's fine. But the bubble is just, there's so much stuff out there that it just reaches a point where it's like, I couldn't watch all of it if I wanted to now. And just with the amount that it costs to consume it, and it's now on 87 different streaming platforms and this and that it's like, there has to be some ultimate pushback. And it's like, God bless them. It's America. Go make all the money you can make. But there has to be an expectation that it's going to deflate. The market has to deflate at some point because this just does not feel sustainable.
Yes, and having said that, make sure you check out Missouri Valley Conference basketball on ESPN Direct to Consumer. Don't forget.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, hey, you might have to pay a little bit more, but the basketball is great. The
It's going to be
basketball, the
wonderful.
baseball, all the sports are great. No, but you're 100% right. Um, the lifeblood of our business was the small town.
Yeah.
The lifeblood of professional wrestling you and I both love was when they come to town, you gotta go see it, and it was affordable price. But the UFC was the linchpin for this first. Just remember that, because even though it's funny about UFC, UFC, some of those fans are, Jeff. Those are diehard, yes, UFC fans, but also WCW fans
Right.
that left wrestling. They didn't go to WWE; they went to UFC, and the reason why I know that is when UFC first started coming to Chicago at the United Center, I'd see NWO shirts.
Right.
I said, and I'd go up to him. I said, "Hey, we're at the UFC show. Yeah, NWO is cool, man, but I can never go to WWE, so I went to UFC." Those disenfranchised fans, they went to UFC, and so now they're paying through the nose for tickets for 30 seconds of action and a broken leg and a broken
Right.
arm, right? But it is. It is amazing. You are correct. At some point, the bubble will burst on WWE side because you can only do so much creatively. It's the cool brand. We know that's a cool brand. Kids love it, all that. But at some point, you have so many different platforms. You got so different masters to feed that at some point people will turn tail and go, what's happening in my backyard, independent wrestling, or what's happening with AEW, or what's happening with other companies. WWE's got to watch that. That's it's a lot of money rolling in, but there's only so many few superstars
Yep.
that can help your company.
He's Jonathan Hood. Please plug away all of your platforms at this time.
Well, I'll give some of them because the tax man might be listening.
Fair.
Jeff, you've been there.
I
You go to the W.
am there,
I
yes.
mean, you're there 90 minutes with the tax man, all those W-2s rolling in.
Yeah.
It's 1099.
Let's talk about the above board stuff right now. We'll start with that.
Okay, let's talk about that. So the Cap and J Hood Morning Show on ESPN 1000. Also, you can stream it on the ESPN Chicago app. We talk Chicago sports. We're in a frenzy right now because the Chicago Cubs are in the playoffs, and Chicago Bears, and all the other sports in between. So we have fun with that every morning. I'm on there every morning from 6 to 9. I have my own podcast, The Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood podcast. Is a play on my last name. You see that, Jeff? Under the Hood is a play on my last name, you see.
How much money did you spend with consultants to come up with that? Was that did we workshop? Was that a self-workshop, or do we bring people in?
Well, I brought my good friend Jack Daniels in, and Jack said, "You know what? That's a good name for a podcast." And Jack and I said, "You know what? We agreed." So, so the Under the Hood podcast, and of course, I am a wrestling guy. Yes. So again, you can check me out on the Pro Wrestling Nation podcast. It's also on Sirius XM channel 156 every Sunday morning. So we stay busy, but we always have fun.
Jonathan Hood calls his games at the Credit Union One Arena. I will always know it as the UIC Pavilion because that is where Ricky Steamboat beat Ric Flair in 1989 to win the NWA World Championship. So
I was there. I was there.
Every time I walk in that building, I have to send text to all my wrestling friends about no one cares about this but me, but please enjoy this. Jonathan, we will be in Chicago New Year's Day, the Racers and the Flames. Looking forward to seeing you, and thanks for coming on, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Hopefully I see you sober.
Hey, man, I'm on the company's dime at that time, so I can't promise anything. But hey, if Jack wants to come talk to us, we can find some time too. So
all right,
appreciate
it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
There is Jay Hood, the voice of UIC basketball and baseball, and does a great job on his wrestling stuff on the Sirius XM as well. So he is busier. He's got more jobs than I do, but glad he was able to get on today. Our wrestling sidebar. Thank you for giving me that moment as we will step aside from that and get back to the basketball now. All right, let's turn our attention now to the ladies and the Bradley Braves in Peoria. 14-19 a season ago. 7-13 in the Missouri Valley Conference. That was a 9th place finish. Beat beat Valparaiso. Boy, it would have been something to beat Vanderbilt in the opening round of the Missouri Valley tournament in Evansville. Beat Valparaiso in the opening round, lost to eventual champion Murray State in the quarterfinals. This has been a program that was really taken down to the studs by head coach Kate Popovic-Goss as she enters season number 4, and they have built it back up. 4 wins in her first year, 6 wins in year 2, 14 last year. And when you look at the conference wins to go from 1 to 2 to 7, you see the growth and you see the building that is happening there in Peoria. Much like what we have seen at Illinois State on the men's side, what we have seen at Northern Iowa on the men's side, they've got a bundle of folks back, 10, in fact, returners. And that starts with Kaylin Nelson. She was the number 2 scorer on the team a year ago. A 5'11" wing, averaged 8 points per game. And then you have another senior in Tamaya Perryman, who averaged just a tick over 8 points per game. So 10 returners, 2 kids out of the portal, 2 kids, 2 freshman high school signees. They have a bundle back. Now, who you lose, and it's a big loss. There's no question about that. Soleil Barnes, who had come in from Toledo, leading scorer, averaged 15 points per game last year. You graduate 3, you lose 2 to the portal. Those 2 kids, Miriam Koulibaly, Cheyenne Neal, combined average 3.5 points. So not real offensive impact there. But you bring back when you lose Soleil, who's your leading scorer, but you then return 5 of your top 6 scorers from a year ago. Offense is going to ultimately be the key for this team this year. And can they score? I mean, that might be the simplest way to boil it down, because this was a defensive team that was as good as there was in the Valley. They were second in scoring defense, gave up 61 points per game and change, allowed opponents to shoot 40.6% from the field, third best in the Valley. The problem was the offense just did not allow them to score. It was a grind it out. They tried to control the tempo. They would just guard their ass off, and they weren't going to let you score. They just struggled to score as well. Scoring offense, 56.9 points per game, 12th last year in the conference. Field goal percentage, 38.5%. That was 10th best in the league. So the gap between you've got this top flight defense and you've got a bottom floor offense. Look, the offense isn't suddenly going to become number 1, but if that defensive level can stay there and the offense can just get to the middle of the pack, I think you've got an opportunity to really see them make a leap this season. The number for them that is so key is 70. They scored 70 points. 70. This sort of explains this paints the picture probably as well as anything of their offensive limitations that I thought were shielded, for lack of a better way, by we're going to just grind out the game, and we're going to try to limit possessions, and we're going to slow things down. We're not going to get into a running game with you. That they were going to try and beat you in the 60s. They scored 70 points 5 times last year. In those games, they were 5-0. They only scored 70 one time in conference play, and that was February 23rd at home when they beat Illinois State. One of the very few games last year. We talked all last year about the bottom of the league versus the top of the league, top 6 versus bottom 6. And you had UIC that beat Missouri State and beat Murray State at home, and then you had Bradley that beat Illinois State at home. Those were the 3. If my memory is correct, those were the 3 wins that the bottom 6 had against the top 6 all season long. And so that was where you saw a sort of the tiers of it, where okay, you've got that top 6, and then you had UIC and Bradley in that next tier before then there was a drop off to the rest of the teams. 5-0 when they scored 70. If they can consistently, even half the time, get to 70, this is a team that can really, and I think this year, with so much star power out of the league, there is still a lot of really good players in this league for sure. But with so many stars at the top that have departed, and they have so much back and such an infrastructure coming back, that I think that they have a chance to really make a leap from a tied for 8th or finished 9th last year and be able to ascend into that, top 5, 6, and make a run at a first round bye. Everybody's trying to get in the top 5. That's the first round bye where you're not playing on Thursday. They've really got an opportunity. The defense is there. And with everybody back, you feel like that's not going to change. Can the offense improve? That is 100% the question there. We say key additions. There's not really any. There are very few. I mean, you get 2 freshmen that come in Maya Foss, a 5'9" freshman, and then Callie Fortson, a 6-foot forward out of Cincinnati. They got 2 kids out of the portal, and one of the names is certainly familiar in Maya Wardle, who is, of course, the daughter of men's head coach Brian Wardle. And, she played at Eastern Kentucky, averaged about 2 points per game. So, they seem to be very high on Maya and what she's going to be able to bring to the table. But look, that is a rotation that there's a lot of pieces there already. So they've got, it's going to be work to get to break into that rotation for Coach Popovic-Goss. And then Micah Cooper comes in as well. She came from Southern Miss, averaged 2.5 points down there. So it's just nice when the returning list is triple as long as the addition list. And that is certainly what Coach Pop has rolling up there in Peoria. Speaking of Coach Pop, this will be something to monitor as the season progresses. As we talked with her a couple of months ago, she is expecting her first child in December with her husband, Ollie. And that is something that, it's I don't know if in her heart of hearts, if she could have timed it, she might have, hey, can we get this done in June or some other time? But look, the basketball calendar doesn't stop. There's really it's a pretty difficult needle to thread. But we have seen some badass women who have given birth during the season, and literally days later, they are back with their team and back on the sidelines. So everything, by all accounts, appears to be going well, and we certainly wish Coach Pop and her husband all the best. That this is the most uneventful pregnancy as you can have here for the final, I guess, 10 weeks or so until the baby is due. But it's going to be, depending on the timing, there's going to be a couple days. At the very least, it's going to be a couple days. Coach is going to be gone, and so that'll be just something to navigate, and probably right around the beginning of conference play. By the way, still don't have a conference schedule. I was told that votes were put in for preseason, the preseason poll, which media day for the women is next Thursday, the 16th. So maybe by then we'll have a schedule. We should also have a preseason poll by then. And the media day for the men is 2 weeks. So we're getting close. We're getting close. But just something to monitor with Coach Pop. And hope it is the most easy, laid back, baby sleeps through the night from day one, and she can get right back to work as soon as she's feeling ready to roll. But that is, I don't even need to get into a basketball. It's just happy for her, happy for her husband, and happy for the whole family. And can't wait for them to add a new addition to the family. Schedule wise for the Braves, it is, when you look at the schedule, 5 home games in the non-conference. They will go to Fort Myers, Florida, for the Fort Myers tip-off in the MTE. They'll play Missouri and Abilene Christian, and then 4 road games. And again, just from I feel like it's a dismissive word when you call it a manageable schedule, but it's a schedule that they can go make some hay. I mean, again, you've got a non-D1 at home. You've got DePaul, Bellarmine, Chicago State, South Dakota. According, from the net numbers a year ago, that's 1 Q3 in DePaul. The others are all Q4s. Missouri's a Q2 on a neutral site. Abilene's a Q3. You're going on the road to IU Indy. That's a Q4. Western Illinois, a Q3. Northern Kentucky, a Q4. The big one will be when they go to Nebraska. They were a quad 1 team a season ago. But, man, aside from Nebraska and Missouri, there's really no reason. I say there's no reason. Everybody stay healthy. Coach is there, for as much as possible. There's no reason they are not competing. That's probably the best way to put it. That this is very much set up where they can have a winning record going into conference play. And hopefully they will be able to do that and continue this ascent as they went 7 games, 6 games in the non-conference a season ago. So that certainly feels, that's 6-5. That feels very much in range for them this year. But we will find out. They will play SLU at home for their exhibition, their one public exhibition game, and then it's off and running. And with their non-D1 opener, and then away we go. So very much looking forward to see the trajectory is zooming northward, and we'll see if they can build on that here year 4 in Peoria. All right, one final headline this morning before we get out of here, and it is, hey, let's talk about the NCAA. Can we talk about the NCAA one more time? Let me get the official verbiage correct here on my 47 pages of notes. The NCAA Division I Administrative Committee voted Wednesday to allow student athletes and athletic department staff to bet on professional sports. We are still waiting. This is not officially official as of yet, but we are still waiting for the Division II and Division III administrative committees to vote on this. They will meet at the end of October. That is when they will vote. If they vote yay, this will go into effect on November 1st. I don't know, trying to drive down Hot Take Avenue this morning, and I'm kind of stuck in the middle here. I mean, I think that ultimately this is a hard right turn. I have, if you have spent any time even remotely around any athletic college locker room, there are signs everywhere, and it's like, don't bet on it. And then there's all the fine print from the NCAA that do not bet on anything because you will be ruled ineligible and lose eligibility and blah, 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 and lose your scholarship and leave school and all of that. I have been privy to meetings where, with compliance folks, where they are just like, no, it is not worth your time. Like whatever you want to talk yourself into, it's not worth it. Don't do it. And the betting was, you could not bet on anything that was a sport that was sponsored by the NCAA. Certainly all college stuff is off the board, but even professionally, any professional sport that was sponsored by the NCAA on the college level, it was off limits. So there are some, look, I think if you were going to go bet on, Australian cricket or something like that, there may have been loopholes, but they were just like, don't even bother. Like, just wait your 4 years till you're out of college. And then if you have to bet, go crazy. I think what this became is, in this era now where it is legal everywhere and almost everywhere, and you have, it's just become it's like, it's one less thing. That's almost what it feels like. It's like, it's one less thing that we have to try to chase down and monitor. And that almost felt like a punt on the NCAA's standpoint of just like, yeah, what are you going to do? These kids have money, and the kids have money, they've got their NIL cash, and now they're going to go burn it, and they're going to burn it on pro sports. I saw there was a physician that was quoted in the NCAA release, basically saying that, whatever studies they did, that abstinence was not the way to go. It was all about education and being open about things and trying to teach. And that's certainly one way if you want to spin it, for sure. It feels like, and look, we can doom and gloom this, and we can go worst case scenario, but the bottom line is you're allowing adults, and I think that's the counter to the counter, is like, look, They're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25. They're still 25-year-olds in college. Like, they're adults. They should be able to do what they want to do. Okay. And that's fine. But you're also, you are banking on the fact that these quote unquote adults at 18, 19, 20 years old, and I only play a doctor on TV, so I'm sure I'm going to get the terminology wrong. Whatever it is, the frontal lobe, whatever it is up here, this is the part that dictates all the decision making, and this is the part that is not fully formed until you're 25 years old. So you are giving this opportunity to these kids to make your own decisions with a decision making muscle that is not ready to roll. And that's where you just worry that this now becomes, and again, there have been enough examples of point shaving, and you see it now with, and I think that the NCAA thinks like, hey, we're still not letting them bet on college sports, so this will be okay if we just have them do pro sports, but look, these kids have money, and maybe they start betting, and like everybody that bets, they're going to lose, and then they're trying to get even, and maybe they get in the hole, and now you got somebody that wants to try to manipulate some college stuff, and decision making isn't awesome. And there have been enough examples over time that these are not far-fetched fantasies. But as the NCAA has just, as the years have gone on, it has felt like they have become more toothless as an organization, that it just was like, we're just tired of fighting, and we're just going to let this go. And look, the student, whatever the SAAC, student athlete, I don't know, whatever they're called, the advisory commission, I think it is, or committee, where you got the student athletes that advocate for themselves. They're for it too. Of course they're for it, because kids want to do whatever they want to do. They don't want to be told no. And they've been told no in this instance. And in the end, it's like, I'm not sure I like it. In 3 years, 4 years, when you're out of school, go do whatever you want to do. But it just feels like the old slippery slope of, well, I'm betting on college, I'm betting on pro sports, and maybe I'm going to bet on college sports, and maybe nobody will know, and maybe, and it just, they always find out. And this isn't the old days of, you're meeting, Three Finger Jim in the alley, and you're paying off bets or getting paid or whatever. Everything is right here. Everything is on the phone. It's all digital. It's all like, that's why every time you see one of these pro guys, was it Jonte Porter, I think his name was, that played for the Raptors, who's like the 11th man on the Raptors, and suddenly there's all this money that's flooding in on him to get under whatever it was, like half a rebound or something. And it's like, the flags go up. I mean, they have mechanisms in place to be like, what is going on? Yeah, because he told all his buddies, hey, bet on this heavy, because I'm going to take myself out with an eye injury, and it's all going to be fine. Like, it's the stove is too hot, and you've got too many people milling around the stove that are going to be tempted to just do something stupid. And in the end, if one person does something stupid, it's too many people doing something stupid in this regard. And I don't like it. But much like most things in the NCAA these days, whether you like it or not, it's happening. And we will find out here within a matter of weeks. Again, Division I Administrative Committee has approved it. Waiting on Division II and Division III to vote yes. If they both vote yes, this will be in effect on November the 1st. Okay, that does it for today's long edition of Morning in the Valley. Thank you for being with us today. We have college basketball tomorrow. Drake at Wichita State. No visual proof. We'll try to break that down. Hoping to have Michael Admire, the radio voice, with us next week to get his thoughts on what we've seen. Also, preview of the Bulldogs. We'll also have Bradley and Green Bay tomorrow night. The men, 6 o'clock. That'll be ESPN Plus. So we'll break that down for you on Monday morning, as well as we also continue our previews of the Missouri Valley Conference, T-minus 24 days until it is showtime. Thanks to Jonathan Hood, the radio voice for the UIC men, for being with us today. Thanks to you for being with us as well. If you haven't done so already, please go to YouTube, subscribe for free, search out Morning in the Valley, all free. All our past shows, interview clips, preseason previews, it is all there. And let your friends know about it. Let them know that got Missouri Valley coverage every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m. right here on Morning in the Valley. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. Watch some college basketball tomorrow. Forget about the Phillies. Forget about the Eagles. watch some college basketball tomorrow. It'll make your heart feel good. And we'll see you Monday morning right here at 9 o'clock on Morning in the Valley.